So the next thing we'll take a look at is dealing with when a user is not authenticated. We want to put a stop to them being able to navigate anywhere that they don't have access to because they're not logged in, which is pretty much everywhere except for our homepage. So we want to push our users back to this homepage if they attempt to access any other part of our app that they don't have access to. And let's see how we can do this. And back in VS Code, what we're going to do, if we take a look at our routes inside here, what we're going to do is make these routes private routes for the ones that require authentication, which is everything inside here. And what we can do, and this is pretty much taken directly from the React router documentation, is we can create a private route component that returns a route if they are logged in, but redirects them back to the home page if they're not logged in. And that's the method that we'll use to do this. So what we'll do, and I'll just clean up these tabs, is inside our client app, inside the source and the app folder and the layout folder, I'm just going to create a new file. And we'll call this one private route.tsx. And we'll just create it like any other component. We'll use REFC to start this off. And what we want to do is create an interface called iProps. And this is going to extend the route props. And I need to spell extends correctly. And see if I can bring this in automatically. And that'll be a no. So we're going to get the route props from React Router DOM. So I'm just going to import these manually. And I'll bring in route props from React Router DOM. And our route props are going to be able to take a component, which is going to be of type React component type. And this is going to take some route component props of type any. And let's just add these props to our private routes. So we'll say react.fc and pass in our iProps. And what we'll add in our destructured props is the component, and we'll call it component with a capital C. And we'll also spread the rest of the route props over this as well. And then what we want to do is find out if our user is actually logged in. So let's add our user store to this. So we'll say const root store equals, and we'll say use context, and we'll say root store context. And my VS Code is having a bad day, so I'm going to have to import this manually as well. So I'll say root store context from, and we'll go up to stores and root store. And then we'll destructure the is logged in that we can get from our user store, and we'll say equals root store dot user store. And then what we want to return is basically a route. So we'll bring this in from React Router DOM, and we'll pass in the rest that we're spreading, and we'll spread the properties over the route props. And then what we'll do is we'll add our render function, and we'll say render equals, and we'll pass props. And what we'll use, we'll check to see if the user's logged in, and if they are, we'll return the component along with any props, which we'll spread across here. And if they're not logged in, then what we'll do is we'll use the redirect from React Router DOM, and we'll send them to, and we'll just pass them back to the home page. We'll do nothing more than that. We'll keep it nice and simple. And because we're checking an observable, we also want to make this an observer as well. So let's just add the observer and wrap it around the private route. And what we can do with this now is we can update our routes in our app.tsx, And for the ones that we want to check to see if the user's authenticated, we'll make them private routes. So let's go to our app.tsx. And for anything pretty much inside our container here, these are all going to be protected. So let's add private route, and this one's allowing me to import it, so that's a bonus. And let's just update the others as well with the private route here. And for the not found, we can keep this one as it is. I'll just leave this one alone and just concentrate on these main ones. Now, the crucial thing to remember about client-side security is there is no such thing as client-side security. It's just, this is the equivalent of hiding things behind a curtain rather than behind a locked door. It's so easy to get around, but really this is just for our user interface. It's just to prevent the users from trying to access something before they're logged in and then seeing a blank page. We're already protecting our data on the server. This is really just a user interface update. So let's make sure this actually works. So I'm just going to go back to the browser, and if I attempt to browse to activities, then I get sent back to the home page. And that should be the same for just about anything else that we can do. And if I type in some nonsense, then we do get taken to the not found page, and if I try and go to the activities page, I get knocked back to the home page because once again we've got our private route in front of there. We could add a toast to say that the user's not logged in, etc., but we'll just keep it really simple for this particular part and consider this good enough for now.